Hey everybody, welcome back. This is part 2 of my gun rant. We have already discussed in the previous video blanket federal regulations in regards to guns. And in this video what we're going to talk about is mental health. Now, I don't believe that the answer is more guns, but I don't think that the answer is less guns either. But with this epidemic of shootings, it's paramount that we examine who shouldn't have guns. Okay, so people with mental health problems shouldn't have guns. We got it. But simply saying that doesn't go far. What about non-naturalized citizens? Immigrants. Do we really say to folks, when they come to America, "Welcome to America, here's your gun. You'll need it." How about removing guns temporarily from the situations we know lead to shootings, like aggravated assault, domestic battery, etc., etc. Turns out women who get a restraining order aren't any less likely to be harmed by their harasser. Should that order come part and parcel with a 24-hour notice to relinquish firearms to the local sheriff for a lockup until otherwise approved by the court? Sure, it's a longer time frame than I like. It doesn't say anything for unregistered guns or somebody's ability to find firearms otherwise. At least it's a little bit more than a limp piece of paper in a filing cabinet miles away from the scene of the crime. Wasn't that the whole point of the wait period when you go to get a firearm, was to make sure that you didn't want a firearm to go commit a crime? So how about if you already own a firearm and you're in a situation where you might escalate a crime? I don't see the problem with that. Now, in my home state of Illinois, if you hold a license or a certification, if you're, a nurse, a lawyer, a real estate agent, anything like that, or it's the kind of thing that you would need to get a continuing education for. If you have child support and it's not worked out with the court, then you can't get recertified. What if we applied this to gun ownership? The thought there is, if you can afford bullets to protect your babies, then you ought to be able to afford their diapers too. Is that extreme? Does the Affordable Health Care Act address public mental health issues? And to what degree? Do any of them need to change? Sure, once those programs become available, people still have to come in to get those services. But as it stands, there's no shortage of people being turned away. A loved one of mine went their whole life with a mental handicap that went unidentified because their family didn't have any kind of insurance. Not from an employer, not from the government. They made 20 bucks too much, so they were denied the $400 assistance, etc. That kind of situation. Because of this person's handicap, they were basically treated as a second-class citizen and relegated to the impoverished neighborhoods where all the bad things we hear about our society happen. This person was a very sweet person that did not have schizophrenia until after 10 years of that. That schizophrenia was developed in that situation, in that person, who might otherwise have been a completely supportive and productive member of our society. But society didn't seem too interested in helping that person. With some effort, we were able to help that one build a life, get back on meds, get back in school for their GED and everything. You didn't build that! We had to do that because there was no government there, no public support, no compassion in that regard. It was, sorry, sink or swim, even if you don't have any arms. Tough luck. Those 10 years of misery were completely preventable. And what are the things that we're pumping ourselves full of? Everything in our food and our drink, they affect us over time. And especially in the carcinogenic quantities that Americans are known for eating everything in. Do you remember those rats that were eating their body weight in aspartame? And no wonder they got cancer. Humans are getting that in 31 flavors now. We don't have a comprehensive understanding of the long-term effects of things like Prozac, Ritalin, and many others. Yet we're more than eager to pump our young, prepubescent, developing minds full of them. And then we're surprised when suddenly there are unexpected side effects. There seems to be a blanket mentality here that creates a system that isn't interested in properly evaluating the kid in the chair. They just want to push these new drugs on them because that helps pad the bottom line. And that's if the child is lucky enough to be getting evaluated. In addition to a depressed physical and mental capacity to understand the scope of the developmental issues that are at stake here, there's also the State of the Union. Yes, it's the people, not the guns. So, here's your gold star. Welcome to the conversation. How do we disarm the desire to kill? To understand the broader intricacies of environment, upbringing, social status, epigenetics, everything, I recommend you talk to Gavin de Becker. In his book, The Gift of Fear and Other Survival Signals That Protect Us from Violence, he outlines the timeline and development of the criminal mind and criminal activities. His specialty actually is threat evaluation and violence prevention. And he must be good at it too, because it was his company that developed the Mosaic Threat Evaluation Program for our senators and for our judiciaries. You figure, what's good for the goose is gotta be good for the gander, right? And after reading it, I happen to think that, just every household in America having this book would help this issue. Americans are too afraid for all the wrong reasons, and this really puts that into perspective. Now, it used to be said, it takes a village to raise a child. So what about the village? Not laws, legislation, etc., but us. What are my civic responsibilities to you? What are your civic responsibilities to me? And why did we forget about any of that? It's been said that if everyone simply had a good friend, then shrinks would go out of work. It really feels like things have gotten so tight in the public demeanor that there is no more we, the people, and it's just me. ... How did we allow ourselves to become so divided that any excuse will suffice to do nothing kind for someone? Race, color, religion, sexual preference, or just the cut of one's jib is enough to leave a fellow American lying in the street. Here's an example. Think about it. You're in the grocery store and you see a mom and she is weighed down by a pack of children that are just running amok. When did it become rude, or illegal even, instead of good Samaritan, to walk up to that group and say, hey, you mind your mother? What happened to that being okay? We need to personally ditch these prejudices that are dividing our nation and tearing it apart. We need to get back to we the people actually meaning something again. I want to thank you for tolerating part 2 of my gun rant. Thanks for watching. So far we reviewed what I believe the federal law should be and the state of our mental health situation. Stay tuned for the third hurdle. That'll be the next video. I'll see you there.